So,
Go on.
I watched a show and about becoming an astronaut, and they were saying that one of the toughest exercises, one of the toughest thing you need to learn to adapt is to be confined in a small
Small
space
space.
with
Yeah.
another two or three people. And the more people the better, but if it's like five people it's better, but if you're confined to like with two or three people, it's very, very bad for your mental health.
Of course.
For
Yeah.
3 months it's gonna be really that it will affect your brain to the point that you start thinking that you want to get out of there, like whatever the cost is. 6 months you'll start actually hating people in there, and in 1 year you in the borderline of committing suicide. So that's what, like, a normal person. So that's why not everyone can be an astronaut. So they need, apart from being clever and skillful, they also need to be mentally very, very
Mentally
stable
strong. Yeah.
and
yeah.
strong. Yeah. So why the fuck the governments locked everyone down in a fucking small room for over a year? Like, what did you think was going to happen?
Symptoms in that sense. So that's how I looked at it and viewed it. But obviously the media was going absolutely crazy with it. We didn't know much about it, so everybody had a right to be worried. But I suppose what they say is the way
Yeah.
that people catch it was the problem, the way it's in the air kind of thing. So I was like, okay, cool, fair enough. But towards the end, it was just going to be another one of those diseases that we've got, or viruses that we've got, that we have to cope with as a community. We just have to find a way to suppress it.
Yeah, for me it was a bit different. I thought that we're gonna get it because the way that it was spreading was going crazy
Yeah.
fast, and I thought we're gonna get it, and I didn't think that it was gonna pass. I think it didn't pass the rest of the countries on the way, so why would it pass through UK? And
Yeah.
at the beginning I was thinking, like, first thing that the UK should do is, since it's being an island, close all the borders. Close
Mhm.
Calais, close all the airports, all the shipping, everything needs to stop for a month. And if you
Yeah.
do that for a month, you will go through, and then everyone who will get sick, and then hopefully by that time it will just die out.
Mhm.
What I didn't know at the time was that how resilient this virus is and how adaptive
Yeah.
it can be. And so then when we heard the first time, at least at work, like, guys, I think we need to go and work from home. I don't think I'll guarantee you, anyone at work who thought that we're going to be going for a year or even more would be lying. I think we were all thinking a couple of weeks, up at most a month, and then we'll go back to normal, because like in our day and age, like this kind of pandemic,
Yeah.
like how is it even possible? I think we talked about this a while back. There was a guy who went into a coma before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then I think about like two months before the pandemic. I don't know the
Don't
full
tell me
story.
don't tell me he saw a vision.
No, he didn't see a vision. It was worse than that. So just before the pandemic, he goes into a coma, and then he wakes up in the middle of pandemic, and that was at the height of it. And when everything is shut, like the streets were like tumbleweed, and there's nobody outside.
Oh my
Things abandoned,
goodness.
like no toilet rolls, and like it was that bad. And so he wakes up and is like, why did you wake me up? Like, why couldn't you wait until the fucking thing ended? Like, this is stupid. Like, like, put me back. Like, well, I think the first thing he asked was are there zombies? Because like
Yeah, zombie
right?
apocalypse. I can
Like,
imagine
he
what that
didn't
would
think
be
it was
like.
real,
Yeah,
and then he realizes it's real. Pandemic's going on. It's like are people eating people now? So that was crazy. But yeah, so similarly, I think nobody's expecting was expecting like things like this to happen. And at least not in our time. Like, we know that back in the day, like Black Death and all those viruses were spreading through Europe and killing millions and millions. And
and the plague.
the plague, yeah.
Yeah.
But like you would never think that
Well, then
something like
again,
that will
they say
happen.
that came from China as well, right? It was meant to be through the
Well,
sea channels.
the
It
thing,
was on the rat was on the on
well,
the boat.
yeah. Well, the thing is, you never know with these viruses unless you go and investigate the ground zero. So
Yeah.
you can't just sit and say like it's because of that, and this evidence that happened a few hundred years ago that it was caused by China.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
even with this virus, it originated. Well, they say it originated in China, and I don't think China is disputing that. And how it came out, that was the first clue to develop a vaccine, right? So where did it
Yeah.
come from? From which animal, or from how? Was it in a tube in a lab somewhere, or whatever was the case? They need to find it and to go to the ground zero and find out what was the case, or how it
Yeah.
happened. So they go to this market in China. It's empty, spring
The wet
cleaned,
market. Yeah.
spring cleaned. There's nothing there. Like there's some metal stalls there, but everything is like
Yeah.
you would
It's
never
done there.
see any area in China that clean, right? So and then the people from WHO, they said, like, World Health Organization said, like, well, there's nothing really we can do. Let's get back into a column of 20 cars and go back to where we came from. So and they couldn't investigate anything. They didn't know how it came about, and we'll never know, from what I understand. So
Well,
that's
it's
where we
one of
are.
those mysteries, right? It's one of those mysteries. There's going to be a lot of hearsay about it and a lot of conspiracies. And, it even got to the point where if you were even just doubting that it was man-made or anything along those lines, you were getting taken off the social media sites.
Yeah,
Like,
well, it's our opinion at the moment, no. So everyone has their own theory of how it happened. Like I have my theory. What do you think? How did it appear? Where it came from?
bro, I don't give a shit how it came from. I just give a shit about dealing with it. Like, because so much shit is is always coming up. So much shit is always popping up. Like, if it's not a virus, it's gonna be a human being who's sitting behind the nuclear button who wants to kind of just bring the whole world down. If it's not one of those guys, you're gonna get someone telling you it's the Bilderberg group, or there's a conspiracy here and Area 51, and or I don't all of this stuff is going to happen. There's always going to be some kind of news that springs up going, oh, where did this all come from? But the reality is that it's here now. We're with it. What are we going to do about it?
Well,
And
the reason why we need to find out where it came from is obviously not to get something like that to be repeated. I think
but
it's
that's something that's hard to control, though. In all fairness,
well, true in one aspect, but the other one, like in my opinion, if it's the same thing as what they say, if you don't know your history, you don't have a future. It's the same thing
true.
with that. So if you don't know how it came about, well, how do we know that area where it came from doesn't make whatever the condition that allowed this virus to spread like that? How do we know that it's still not the case? Maybe there's another virus there that might spread out. Like, do you see what I mean? Maybe it's in a lab
Yeah.
where there was a leak and they didn't fix that yet. Now we don't know. So maybe there will be another, like, another SARS, or another type of coronavirus, or even worse than that, some kind of biological weapon that's gonna kill everyone, or turn them into zombies. So like we don't know. We don't know. Like, so we need to. I think it's. The governments need to kind of put a massive pressure and get China to reveal, how it came about. But I don't think it's ever going to happen.
That's never going to happen. Exactly.
Yeah,
No way
exactly.
that's
Yeah,
ever going to happen. They've already. That's why it's already been dusted and cleaned.
yeah, exactly. So, but like I said, so I hope that China knew how it came about, and I hope that I don't think they did it deliberately, because some speculations were going around that they tested the biological weapon just to show that they can hold the whole world.
Yeah.
And just stop everything and ruin economies and shit. So I don't think that's the case, because it affected China a lot as well,
Of course, definitely, man.
especially their main workhorse people, working class people, even dirt poor people who are actually working in the factories and stuff. And most of them were not really healthy as well, because of the type of the diet. It's a cultural thing. It's the same back home. A lot of people are actually not that healthy because of the lifestyle that they use, that they live. And yeah, so a lot of people died in China, even though they said that they didn't. I was surprised. Like, it came from China, and they have one of the biggest populations in the world, and it killed less people than in Malta. Like, what? Um,
Well, 100% they've been fiddled with. They
yeah,
fabricated
of
those
course. And then
results.
they
Come
said
on,
that,
we
well,
all know this.
it was like 80% less, fewer, it was shown at 80% fewer deaths than actually happened. And then
That was
even
like
even
the
that 80% was obviously massaged, and so the figures are obviously massaged and displayed in a way that, that would show them like, oh my god, this comrades are doing their best, and it avoided China. It's God's will. Well, in China they don't believe in God, do they? Well, they do. They just don't. They just hide it. And well, they're communists. That's what I'm saying. So, but yeah, no. The government is, at least. Um, so yeah,
Listen, what about this?
go on.
What about this? What I was gonna say was they fabricated all of these results and all of these kind of things. Like when the Saudis, did you hear about the assassination that took place in Turkey of that
Yeah, yeah,
journalist?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was like when they tried to convince everybody that he wasn't killed in there, he wasn't assassinated in the Saudi embassy. It
Mm-hmm.
was like, come on, just look, just say you did it, and nobody's gonna touch you anyway because of your power. Like, no, no, there's no point trying to make yourself out to be this person who's all courteous and
Yeah, yeah,
understanding.
exactly.
You
Just say,
signed this death warrant a long time
yeah.
ago.
No, I was gonna say, yeah. Just say that you did it, and then like say like this guy who did it. Then we didn't order him to do it, but he thought that we did, and whatever. Punish one guy who you punished anyway, and it would have gone away, right? But they said that they didn't, and
Yeah,
people didn't
no,
buy
but
it.
in the end they had to admit it though. In the end they
Yeah,
had
yeah,
to come
because
around to say that he wasn't aware of it. But yeah, it came from Saudi instructions,
mm,
from high places. So it's like, all right, cool. We know what happened here. Saudi is trying to become America. You know,
yeah,
they're trying to play the game between the Soviet Union and the Russians, or the Russians and the Americans at the same time. It's like, okay, cool. Let's see what happens here. And they're actually making a lot of progress. But going back to what we were talking about before, yeah, I'm with you. They've definitely fabricated those results. They've definitely kept everything under lockdown and key, and they're not going to give it to anybody anytime soon either. They probably even had the cure a long time ago.
mm,
Do you know what I mean? All of these things are taken into consideration. But on the other side, what it definitely did show is the vulnerability of all of the systems that are in place all over the world, man. Like, it
mm.
showed the weak infrastructures of every nation.
Yes, yes, I think so. And other than that, well, I'm gonna ask you a question in a bit, but
Hmm.
in my opinion, I think the whole world overreacted to what was going on. I know you're gonna say,
Oh yeah, but
are you one of those,
that's
and
that's common.
but it showed that we don't need to live in an archaic way that we're living before. We don't need to work in an office and
Yeah.
wear certain clothes, depending on your industry. But most work environments that said like, actually we need to send them home. It works, the same way, if not better, in most industries, especially ours. People actually showed that they are more productive, and they do more overtime, because
Yeah.
you start on time, you finish on time. But most of the time you start early, and then you don't know that the time is up for you to go and do something, because you're always at home anyway, and
Well, yeah,
you'll end
the
up doing an
travel
hour or
time has
two
been cut
extra.
as well.
Yeah,
The travel
exactly.
time has been cut. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So so that's one thing. And then the second thing is, it showed how politicians don't give a crap about the world. Well, we knew that before, but it actually proved now that they don't give a shit about the world. They'll just make up rules on the fly. They don't care about evidence and shit like that. So and even that, let's put it on to one side. There were some people who rebelled and said we don't want to do that, but then those people were ridiculed and laughed at, like, you guys are crazy
Hmm.
nut jobs. You're one of those people who, like back in the day when people were writing with left hand, they would like tell them like, you are crazy, like you're
Yeah, yeah,
possessed by a
yeah,
devil. Or if somebody had a speech impediment, they would take them to some exorcist. So it's similarly, like nowadays they're doing the same thing, like, you're not wearing a mask. Like, well, I don't want to. Well, why you don't want to? Because I don't believe in the evidence. Like, then you're crazy. You are,
yeah.
you're possessed, and you're brainwashed by those guys. So I think there isn't. Well, there's some evidence, and there is some evidence that's displayed in a way that, you know. Well, let me just conclude what I was going to say. I don't think there should have been a worldwide lockdown. I thought that at the beginning that they should have done it, but now I don't think that this was a good way of doing it. Number one reason is that we ended up getting a herd immunity anyway. So, you know, even before the vaccines were rolled out, a lot of countries, I'm talking about the world here, not UK, because UK is a special, you know, special scenario, another way of fucking everything up. But the rest of the world, like especially the third world, you know, like they are actually okay now, most of them, because it went through the entire population. It killed all the people who were elderly and who had some sickness, and then unfortunately, you know, it didn't really care about the age, but majority of those people were elderly. So it killed all of them, not all, like the ones who were sick, who was, you know, vulnerable to this virus, and now they're okay. I don't, like, even in back home, I don't hear anyone dying of it. I don't hear any person getting sick or do you know what I mean? So third world.
Well, I'll tell you. Let me tell you what happened from my side, right? From my side back home, we went to some serious problems, bro. Like at one point, people were dying every day from the virus.
That was the first wave, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. Every day I was hearing someone's passing away. The virus this, the virus that, and the pattern was the same. It was always the elderly and the vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, a member of my family passed away from it, so it's definitely real. But you know, from the information that we got about it, was the virus can be overcome even if you're in a vulnerable state. It's the damage that it does to the rest of the organs, like especially if you're in a vulnerable state with already medical conditions that you've got. It's going to be hard for you to recover, like a younger person would. Do you get what I'm saying? So the reality of the situation became that everyone was dying on a daily basis, but then afterwards, you didn't hear anyone passing away as much. And it was like, it was only those people that were still alive at the time. And you'd think, oh, they've passed away. And it's like, wow, that's so weird how that whole generation, they're together in such a short period of time, has all just gone.
Yeah. Precisely my point.
And that is real. That is real, because that's what happened back home for my community.
No, it's the same with mine, and that's what I was saying, is that it just went through all those people like there is no tomorrow, and then, you know, either crippled or killed them. And then after that, it was just pure herd immunity. Everyone got the virus. If they didn't, most of them didn't even know that they had the virus, and they developed the immunity to it, and that's it. So they're not even buying anymore any the vaccines, or it's just gone. I don't hear anything, you know. So
it dies out. The information always dies out, man. Like it gets boring, you know. The news wants something new to push.
It's not even that. I think it's the same in yours. Like in my community, if somebody dies, you know, they have to be buried on the same day, right? So as soon as possible, and it's usually a public thing. So you know, not like in Europe, you don't invite anyone. People just go when they hear it. They just go. So that news, especially bad news, spreads so fast. And like you were saying at the beginning, you would hear like, oh, that person died, that neighbor died, that friend of family died, and then you keep hearing about this, and all of a sudden it's gone, because they're not dying anymore. If they would die, you would hear about them dying. It's not like somebody would die and then their family wouldn't advertise anyone. They wouldn't say that, oh, they died, right? They would just close it and cover it up and bury them in quiet. It wouldn't happen. It would still be a public thing. People would still go to the funeral, and you know, people are dying of natural causes, not from the virus anymore. And that's just, it's gone back to normality in terms of death and life. And that's what's happening in the world, and a lot of countries, they've just gone through the herd immunity, exactly what the original scientists were saying before a couple of corrupt scientists got involved with the government and enriched themselves. The first time when the first wave was, you know, going through the world, people were saying that you're not gonna find a vaccine in at least, you know, 10 to 15 years, a stable one. And the only way to survive this is to have a herd immunity, and that's what the governments, they thought, okay, that's what we're going to have to do. So
Yeah.
let's not close the borders, because the more people will get infected, the faster it's gonna go away, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what the UK was doing at the beginning. Like, okay, let's just leave everything open. Let's hope that it's gonna go through everyone quickly, and kill off the people who are burden to the economy, meaning older generation who are getting pension, and they're sick, and just so it will get rid of them. So the rest who are left are going to be slaves who will be working and paying their taxes. So those are the ones that we need, and that's what they thought, in my opinion. And then it didn't work, because in UK, like I was saying, it's a special fuck up, because a lot of the media can control a lot of people's minds.
Yes,
And
exactly.
what they need was a clickbait and a grandiose end of the world thing, and then they just started announcing, like, they started bashing the government, saying that, why are you not closing now, why are you not doing this, and everyone's including myself, was like, why are you not closing the schools, why are you not doing that? And then I thought, like, now I'm thinking, like, well, they shouldn't have closed the schools, but at the time I'm like, close everything. You're on an island, like, it's so easy to close. Precisely what New Zealand did, and I want to see what's going to happen with New Zealand going forward. How long are they going to, keep everything closed?
Well, yeah, that's a
Right?
very good point.
So they
Because
closed
everything's
everything.
already
So
expensive in New Zealand
yeah,
anyway to
yeah. I want.
import and export. So
I hope they did everything properly, and it's with New Zealand again. It's a special case because they could just close everything and they survive, and then they could get now that the vaccines are out, they could use the vaccine and then open everything up, right? So they had a really good timing with that. But with the rest of the world, like, we had no other choice but just do what we did, and still get herd immunity. Now the vaccines are out. They're saying that, this is a very stable vaccine. Like, okay, so I'm gonna ask your opinion about that. This is a very stable vaccine. Yeah. Everyone should get it. Well, some people apparently don't want to get it. Like, okay, what are we going to do? We're gonna introduce a passport. Oh no, passport is so shit. Like, you can't do that. And then they said, oh, okay, apparently we're not gonna call it the passport. What we're gonna do is we're not gonna allow anyone to fly anywhere unless they got vaccination. And to prove that they got a vaccination, they need to carry the certificate. So now they're calling the passport as a certificate. So essentially, there's still a passport that you have to show when you're traveling the world or anywhere you want to go. So the reason for that is, again, capitalism and greediness and all that. But we'll stop on that. But your opinion, should we have gone through this lockdown? And what do you think about the vaccine itself?
In as honest as I can be, and my opinion in regards to all of this, I think that first of all, some questions raised in my head again when a lot of this was taking place, and a lot of them weren't around the virus itself. It was more around things like, okay, so how come Africa's not as affected by it? You know, how come that kind of atmosphere, that kind of weather kind of thing is not. I mean, their cases were low in comparison to everywhere else in the world.
Well, I wouldn't really
As far
trust
as
their
we
numbers
know,
too, though.
as far as we know anyway. But
Yeah.
that was one of the things that kind of was brought to my attention. And second of all, was like, well, here we are, we're absolutely pumping everything that we can into this economy, and just so we can find a solution or find a vaccination to it, first of all. And it's taken us so many years to not even find anything still as cures for um, cancer or HIV or anything along those lines, even though we've made a lot of progress, which I found a little bit funny in that aspect. Like, of course, cancer can be different types, but then um, you've got a virus that we know nothing about, and the source of it has been wiped clean. And in the space of less than 2 years,
Mm.
we've got a vaccine already. So that was quite okay, surprising first of all, but we all know that was an opportunity for the farmers as well, to the pharmaceutical companies, to make an absolute killing, because whoever finds the virus is gonna eat the world short term anyway. But in terms of the vaccination, what do I think? I think it should be a choice. I don't think everybody should be forced to take it. I don't. I think the lockdown has gone on for too long. We tried to control something that was already out of hand. We tried to limit it as much as we can, but in all fairness, the limitations only work for a specific amount. We could have done the same thing that we did last year that we did this year, where was instead of just opening up, we could have locked down for a little bit longer, and then we didn't need to go through 2 or 3 lockdowns, because that inconsistency destroys the community, like especially in terms of the economy. It destroys the economy. The start, stop, start, stop, start, stop.
Mm.
You know, we work in an industry where we've seen the impact of that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, and from that aspect, should have been just a decision to close for as long as you can in one go, and then once you're closer to having the vaccination, as they are, then you could have just said, all right, cool. You know what? We're going to open up now. That's my first opinion. In regards to the lockdown, in regards to the vaccination, it should be an absolute choice whether you want to wear it or not. I mean, whether you want to take the vaccine or not, because some people are not going to need it. You know, not everybody's
Yeah.
going to need the vaccine to be immune from it. You know, at the end
Yeah.
of the day, I don't need to take a flu jab every single month, every single year, in order for me to prevent the flu from happening. So I'm gonna get that
Yeah.
once a year anyway, regardless of whether I've got a vaccine or not. Do you get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And like I said, this is obviously turning into a similar scenario as to something like bird flu or whatever it is. These kind of things, and it's probably going to be the same with the man flu. Every year, it's probably going to evolve. Every year, it's probably going to get some people. It's probably going to take some people's lives too. And it's also going to put people in a situation where they're going to get ill for a bit, and then they get up and then they start moving.
Yeah.
So I know people that have obviously got the virus and they're a lot younger.
Yeah.
And they're fine.
You know,
2-3 weeks, it was just like the flu for them. That's what they said.
yeah, exactly. You know, like in my head, what was I think it's a good analogy. What I was thinking is, you know, to be an astronaut, you have to go through some rigorous training and mental stability training and tests. And I watched a show the other day. It's
Don't tell Prince Philip that you want to be an astronaut, mate.
No.
May his soul rest in peace.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit when we go into different subjects. But so you know, I watched a show and about becoming an astronaut, and they were saying that, you know, one of the toughest exercises, one of the toughest thing you need to learn to adapt is to be confined in a small space with another 2 or 3 people. And the more people the better, but you know, if it's like 5 people it's better, but if you're confined to like with 2 or 3 people, it's very, very bad for your mental health. For 3 months it's gonna be really that, you know, like it will affect your brain to the point that you start, you know, thinking that, you know, you want to get out of there, like whatever the cost is. 6 months you'll start actually hating people in there, and in 1 year you in the borderline of committing suicide. So that's what, like, a normal person. So that's why not everyone can be an astronaut. So they need, apart from being clever and skillful, they also need to be mentally very, very stable,
strong,
strong. So why the fuck the governments locked everyone down in a fucking small room for over a year? Like, what did you think was going to happen? The suicide rates are going to go up, the divorce rates are going to go up, and people will start hating everything, including their governments. Like, they will start, you know, being a keyboard warrior and go on the forums and start, you know, trolling everyone. And abuse is going to go up, the home violence is going to go up. What the fuck were you guys thinking? And I'm not even talking about the economy.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, it goes to show the flaws. Like, all of a sudden, for example, bro, don't forget, all of a sudden we had no homeless people on the street.
Yeah.
Even they were taken care of. Do you know what I'm saying? So this is the kind of thing. It's like it didn't make any sense when these decisions were being made, especially when Mr. BJ, the PM over here, PM is Prime Minister for the United Kingdom.
I thought you were talking about a blowjob.
Well, that's his initials, right? So basically, this guy is coming out. He's giving you all this information. Go to work, but don't go to work. Go to work.
Well, because he didn't understand
out,
himself.
Don't go out. He didn't know. Nobody knew. This is the thing. Nobody knew. Everybody was blagging it, and I'd rather that people just came out and said, we're fucking blagging this. We don't know what we're doing. Like this is we've
So
never ever had to make decisions like this ever in the existence of the humankind at all.
yeah,
Where we've
yeah.
had to lock people up and try and find a solution to it in one go. Just say we don't know, we fucked up.
And honestly, I think it's if some people would say, well, I have an elderly mom or dad or grandmother or granddad, and what you're saying is stupid because they will be vulnerable and they will be at high risk of dying, etc., etc. Well, I agree with you. Well, keep them at home. You can still isolate yourself from everything else. You don't, exactly the way that the whole country was locked down. So the rate of virus didn't go down with the lockdown. What went down was the economy. The rate of the virus spreading didn't go. Okay, you'll have a contra argument like, well, it didn't go. It didn't become worse. How worse? How worse? How else can it get? Like we were in UK. We were the highest in the whole, almost the world. With all this lockdown, we were one of the highest. It can't get any worse than this. And the number of people who died from it can't get any worse than this. And what the government should have done instead of locking the whole thing is invest more money in social care. Make sure that the care homes are taken care of. Make sure that
that's my point.
Yeah. The hospitals are equipped with PPE. And I'm not like, they spend billions on a fucking app that doesn't even work. How they give it to two Ukrainian dudes in like they'll develop that up in 2 days. Pay them £10,000. They're gonna fucking make it so much better than what you have. Why are you going like spending billions on an app? Clearly, there's some kind of corruption going on there. PPE, like you ordered from somewhere, it didn't work, and then you ordered from Turkey, which apparently was completely wrong again. I don't know who was checking that. Whoever ordered that should have been fired on the spot, like because there was millions, like just burned, nothing, like gone, and then so all of this put together it was complete shambles because precisely what you were saying. It was they had no idea what they were doing. So one person was coming saying, "Hey, do this," and then. It's quite similar to a wedding back home because there will be suddenly a lot of people with opinion on how to do things. So
how to do a wedding.
Yeah, exactly. So it's similar to that. Like this dude comes like, hey, don't do that. It's a really bad way of doing it. Do this instead. Like, oh, okay, I'll do that, and then shit. Okay, and then the next person comes and do this. And okay, so a lot of a lot of cooks, one kitchen. And the whole thing is shambles. And Boris Johnson, we knew that he wasn't the brightest when it came to these decisions. He's quite good at winging everything, but he couldn't wing this one. He's very good at portraying himself as a clown, but actually being clever enough, to backstab people and work his way around things like a snake that he is. But
I guess you don't like Boris then.
Oh no, I don't like them all. I don't like them all. Left and right. Like I don't like them all now. As I said on the previous one, like politics for me dead at the moment. But the thing is, so with all the lockdown, they should have just taken care of certain pockets of vulnerability, like care homes and people who had support, like elderly who had support, like the children were living in the same house or whatever. They should have made sure that they are shielding their own elderly people. Not because they. Why do you need the tick box from a government to say that you need to stay at home to stay at home? Do you know what I mean? Like you don't need that. To me, for example, if I have my grandma in my flat right now, and during the first wave, let's say, and the government said like I'm not going to lock anything down. So okay, the government is saying that they're not going to lock anything down. So all the elderly people who are vulnerable are dying out. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to go and hang out with a lot of people. Come back to her and just gonna cough on her a few times, drink from the same glass of water, whatever, and then no, of course you're gonna shield her, of course you're gonna confine her to a certain space, and then which you exactly did anyway, right? You did that anyway, so you could control it yourself. If you wanted to go out and buy something, you could go and buy and wear your mask and stay away from people and still do that, unless you needed toilet rolls because it was out. And still do that, and then come back and then still keep your distance from your mum or whoever is elderly, and still do the distancing thing.
Bro, as well, like what you talk about is 100% correct. So because some people in the same household some of them had corona and they had
Yeah.
COVID, and some of them never caught it
Yeah. Yeah.
in the same household, just
Yeah.
because one person just isolated in one room and they kept them in that room for the time that they're supposed to be in. Bro, like I said, all of this, all of this bullshit, yeah, always comes down to it's not it's not the problem. The vaccine is not the problem. The fucking virus is not the problem. The biggest problem is how people behave when this problem exists. What are they doing to be responsible towards themselves and be accountable? So when they're saying, for example, no large gatherings in tight spaces, that's pretty dumb. Like you can like we still had chances to go out, for example, and all you need to do was keep a good distance between you and other people. Even if you mingled, you didn't have to get too involved. Wear your mask, sanitize your hands. They're very, very basic things, bro. Like it's not things that we're asking people to bend over backwards for. And I know for a fact that, okay, at least if someone does it to me, or coughs on me, at least if I coughed, I know that I'm not putting it on anyone else, if that makes any sense. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So my part, I'm being responsible from that aspect. On the other side, then you got, one thing that I wanted to bring, I know the UK's got a lot of stick for this, but at the same time, bro, I spent a very long time in this country, so there's something that I want to say about this. I want to say that I'm glad I was living in the UK and I wasn't living anywhere else when this happened, because the cock-ups that we had here, bro, they were minuscule compared to the cock-ups that, happened elsewhere around the world. For example, you got a president in the United States who's telling people to drink bleach, bro.
Yeah, I mean, like even with
Like,
us, like even our prime minister, may he live long. He said, I'm not being sarcastic, by the way. May he live long, but not as a prime minister. He and away from politics entirely, but he was saying like, oh, we will trust the British common sense. Like, what?
yeah,
Seriously,
yeah,
man?
that was pretty stupid.
How
In
can
today's
you?
society, you can't trust that.
I'm not even talking about British. Any society, you can't just go to them and say like, majority of people are dumb. That's why like referendums don't work because majority of people are dumb.
Yeah,
In certain subjects, right? So a lot of people are clever in certain things, but a lot of people are dumb in a lot of other things. So there are very small amount of things that people are good at, and then there's a lot of other areas that they're dumb at, including myself. Like I have no idea how certain things work. I don't know how to cut carve wood, for example, right? So I'm dumb at that. I don't know how to fix a pipe. I don't know how to. I can change a light bulb, maybe, but like,
well
I'm dumb
done,
at a lot
bro.
of things. So why are you asking the world to decide on things like with referendums? On things that you are paid and elected to do yourself, right? So that's the reason why you're elected, because you are clever. We think that you're clever enough to decide that on our behalf and with our interest. So it's the same with Boris Johnson's announcement. Like, thank you for electing me to make these decisions on your behalf and make sure that your needs are put highest in the government. But I'm not going to do that this time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rely on you to do the best thing. Okay, I'm going to just cross my fingers and just the British common sense. Just do that, and I hope that you will survive. So if I do this, you're not gonna blame me, and anything happens, I'm gonna say, well, he didn't have British common sense. He might be an immigrant. Hey, there you go. I'll wash my hands out of it.
Yeah.
So that's
But speaking of that, that's that false illusion of democracy, right? It's just the fact that I'm just gonna lay this out to give you the illusion of you guys, your referendum has an impact, but in the end, really, it's not going to have an impact. The government is going to stay the same government, as we've seen, because the side that came recently in terms of Labour was piss weak, and any time you put in the papers that someone's a fascist, the whole world is going to read that and think Hitler's on the rise again. So straight away Jeremy Corbyn was out of that. He was just basically digging a hole in water. So he was going to keep trying for as long as he can, but in the end he was never going to get it. The government stability right now, the government in place right now is a government that's been in place for a very long time now, bro. And it will be in government for much longer to come, because the opposition is not much stronger, and the opposition
is a disguised conservative anyway.
Exactly. It's the same thing, just wrapped up in a different package. So all of this is under the false illusion of democracy and freedom and all of these kind of things. And people don't understand that
Yeah.
everything like we were talking about before, like the social media, today's society and whatnot. I'm on it. Look, don't get me wrong, I'm on it, but I'm on it for certain reasons. I'm not on it because I want to show the world
Well, it's the
something
easiest
that,
way to reach
you know,
information and to reach multiple people.
exactly,
Yeah, so
exactly. It's a way to communicate. It's
yeah,
another way to communicate, but unfortunately, it's also been used as a tool for propaganda too.
yeah.
So people don't want to hear the good guy going, look, I will show you all of my bank accounts. I will show you all of the tax that I've paid. I will show you that this is how we can make the world better. People want you to say that, you know what, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to do. And people just want to listen to that. They don't want someone who's going to be honest and tell them the truth. They want someone who wants to just chat crap, because the truth, unfortunately, is going to highlight the amount of problems that the society has, and nobody's willing to take that kind of burden on top of them. So everyone wants to stay in denial in some sense.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was pretty much my short version of why I think lockdown was bad. In terms of the vaccine, like I was saying, you know, the real scientists or the proper scientists who knew what they were talking about, because they were present in all the other pandemics around the world, including Ebola, were saying that, well, it will take us about 15 to 20 years, well, 10 to 15 years to have an idea of what kind of vaccine we want, what kind of vaccine we want. And up to 20 years, you know, so plus 5 years or so to actually start, you know, mass producing it and logistics and all that. So, you know, giving it to countries. So overall, about 20 years. This vaccine was done in 6 months.
Nice. That's what I'm saying, man. Like, what on earth is going on?
And so fair enough, maybe they, you know, struck a gold. Well, why that? I mean, what they did is just take a common fucking cold and just change a, you know, a few formulas here and there and said that this is gonna work now. Well, it might work, but you know, it has an illusion work, and I hope that it actually does what they're saying it does. And you know, by no means, I'm not saying don't take it. But in my opinion, the vaccines that you get as a child for TB, for like you were saying, for flu and all that, they took closer to about, you know, 30 to 40 years to develop a proper vaccine that has a minimum amount of side effects, and there are still people are dying. Some people are dying from these vaccines from side effects. Okay,
that's always going to happen, though. And you're never going to get it perfect with everyone.
Yeah, and nowadays we have evidence of what kind of long-term effects it might have. So they tweak it, and then they'll wait another 30, 40 years, and then they'll, you know, some more side effects, and then they're gonna tweak that, and they'll carry on. And you know, it gets better and better. This thing was developed in 6 months, and they're saying that it's stable, and they rolled it out to a lot of countries. They were, you know, starting to vaccinate a lot of people, and it's good that at least some common sense. They started with the vulnerable and elderly, and then just, you know, start vaccinating everyone. So, you know, thank God for that. And so with 6 months. It took them 6 months to change the cold, take the cold virus and change some chromosomes or whatever they call it, and then, you know, inject people. So basically, infect them,
altering the
infect them with this disabled cold with the vaccine injected to it, and start vaccinating people. So it took them 6 months. So we have no idea what the long term is going to be. So in my head, when they've developed this, first thing I thought, okay, so we're still getting side effects from the established vaccines that we know already. So I don't think what side effects. The only side effect they said that you're gonna feel a bit rough a few days. You might have a slight temperature, I know, and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, well, that's weird. How can you say that when you haven't been tested it properly? Yeah, you tested on like what, 100 people, and you're saying that it's stable. Okay,
oh my
fair
God,
enough.
You just reminded me. Sorry to cut you off, bro. You just reminded me. My friend, she took the vaccine. Yeah, bro. She was in bed for a week. She didn't know where the time went. She couldn't get up. She had no appetite. She was finished for a week. A whole week went by, and she was just sleeping the whole time and delirious. When she got to like maybe Sunday or Monday, she started just coming round again a little bit. And I was like, where have you been? She's like, I've just been out because of the vaccine. I've just had no energy to do anything. I've just been completely slumped.
Well, yeah, exactly, and it affects different people in you know, differently. So, and like I said, you know, I hope that it actually has no long-term effects. But I highly doubt this because, like I said, evidence of other vaccines that it will have some long-term effects. And so I was thinking, okay, so first thing, it took them 6 months, so we don't know what kind of side effects it will have. Okay, let's put aside. Maybe I'll feel rough for a week like your friend, and if after that, I'll have a security of not having the virus, then I'm fine. Well, then they said, well, actually not. You will be like 80% safe, so there's still 20% chance that you will get it. Even after two jabs, like the full thing, like yeah, after 2 jabs, you will be close to that, 85%. Still, you'll have chance of not,
But
of
for legal
getting it.
reasons, they have to say that there's going to be a chance you're not going to live, though.
Well, I think this time they actually meant it, because after that they revised the figures and said it's actually worse than that.
Okay.
And then they said, well, yeah, there you go, there's nothing else, so this is that. And then people start hearing about these blood clots and people dying from those. So it just thickens your blood, and your blood doesn't flow correctly, and you will die. And then, okay, so that, surprisingly, that news was covered up and it's dead very quickly. And now they're saying that it's fine now, and that we don't hear any negative news and all that. So it's like, okay. So the second thing now I'm thinking, if I go and get this virus, this vaccine, fair enough, that's fine. I can live with the things that I just said, but long-term effect is what's worrying me. And I've lived half of my life. I'm hoping I'll have same number of years going forward, but the long-term effect is gonna make that much shorter, most likely. And however selfish this might sound, elderly and vulnerable people who if I was them, I would have definitely gotten the virus. I don't think they would have a long-term effect, because they wouldn't have the long-term effect. If you know what I'm saying. So
yeah, I get what you mean.
If you're 70, you're highly likely not going to live another 30 or 40 years. Maybe you will if you're the queen, but most likely not. And I would take that chance. If I was that person, I would take that chance. I was like, fuck it, I'll probably have another 15-20 years in my body, and if that's gonna be cut short maybe by 1 or 2 years with this vaccine, and this will ensure that I'm not gonna die tomorrow, then fuck it, I'm gonna go and get it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what it. Again, we go back to that point that the younger generation, the people that are in somewhat of a healthy manner, haven't been as impacted as by how it hurt the elder generation, or the more vulnerable generation, or the people that, if we want to call it medically, are not in fit standards to withstand something like that your body would normally be able to overcome, as we've seen with a lot of people. Because don't forget, bro, a lot of people have, again, according to, if we're going by the numbers, more people recovered than people passed away.
Well, if you have any kind of immunity, by that I mean if you eat healthy food, some green,
Yes.
you don't have to eat all green. If you eat some green, and if you're not vitamin deficient, like if you have enough things, if you go out and bask under the sun for a bit, during the day, from time to time, if you just go and do some kind of exercise, and I don't mean going to the gym, if you just go outside and walk for like half an hour a day, you will be okay. You will have maybe like cold-like symptoms in the worst case scenario, but most of the time you will be okay.
Yeah.
And the reason why I thought, like, why the fuck are they closing down schools now? Or why did they close down schools? Like, flu is known to be a killer of children. And it's a nasty killer as well. And since when, like, have you ever heard of a school shutting down nationwide, or like even one school shutting down, in whatever borough, because one child had a flu? Never.
Yes, actually, I heard it in another borough.
No, because of the flu or the.
Oh no, not because of the flu.
Okay,
no,
I'm asking the flu. Have you ever heard a school shutting down because one child had a flu?
Again, bro, I'm gonna go back to this. I lived this in this
Hold
country.
on. Hold on. Let me finish my thought. So, no school was shut down because of flu, but flu kills children. Coronavirus doesn't. Coronavirus.
Yeah, that's bizarre. Yeah.
I know a few children in my son's school had coronavirus, including his class, I know a very good friend of mine's son had coronavirus. None of them had any symptoms, like nothing.
Yes.
And I know this is anecdotal, and I know this is just my example, but statistically speaking, there is no evidence that it's just killing children the same way as it was killing adults. If the child doesn't have any health conditions, none of them will even have most of them didn't even have even a cough. Some might have had cough and temperature here and there, but they were okay. The coronavirus doesn't kill children. Flu does. Why are we shutting down schools? I don't know. So sorry, and carry on with your thoughts.
Yeah, so when all of those diseases and all of those viruses that I was talking about previously that hit the UK, we didn't close the schools down then. When Ebola came, we didn't close the school down. When bird flu came, swine flu,
even Corona at the beginning, like I said, they were trying for the herd immunity.
Yeah, even at the later stages when SARS was around and people were dying left, right, center at one point, bro, we never closed the schools down. We never did all of these things. So that's what I mean. The rate of how quickly the news traveled and the amount of people that got access to that news, and whether some of it was correct, some of it was incorrect, some of it was information, it doesn't matter whether it was right or wrong, people were still, the whole world was getting access to that information at the same time. So the pandemic wasn't the virus, bro. The pandemic was the reaction of of humanity to the way we cope with this problem.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? That was the main pandemic. The panic that we all went into the way we communicated about it, the way we all started talking about it. At one point, bro, like people wouldn't just stop talking about it. It was a trending thing to talk about.
I don't think people caused this whole thing. No. I think people allowed it to go like that. And
that's my point.
What I mean is, and we might kind of go into this conspiratorial side of it, but again, this is my opinion. And what I normally do is with these things is look at a very logical explanation and the most simplest explanation to why this is happening, and usually that's correct. And that's with anything. If you don't know the outcome, if you don't know how something happened, the most simplest and the logical explanation of why that happened is usually the correct one. So first thing I thought, why did we behave like this? And why was this caused this huge uproar of people, acting this way? Media and politicians. So suddenly, if you are a skeptic, you've become one of those crazy people who are left-handed, or if you had a speech with a speech impediment who was possessed by a devil. So suddenly you've become one of those people. And why did that happen? Is in my opinion is because politicians are in bed with corporations. We know that, and that's not even the news anymore. So those are two connected. So the corporations, who are they connected to? Media, and like these three corporations. By corporations, I mean the monopolistic big ass corporations like Amazon, Apple, etc., etc. Walmart, Sky. We can carry on, but all of those are interlinked. So all like corporations, politicians, and media, they always go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand, yeah.
And those three caused this. Who benefited from it? The governments didn't, because it was a lockdown, right? And in a way they didn't. Is like the government's treasury was empty. The people who in the government, they got rich, they got filthy rich, but the treasury was empty. So they were borrowing money from China, from left and right, from Saudi Arabia.
Oh yeah, of course.
But then the treasury is now empty. So who's going to pay for it? We, the normal citizens. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so that's a logical explanation of why that's happening. Why politicians are in bed with them, even though it seems that they're not benefiting anything from them. And media. Well, media like to stick their nose everywhere they want, so they want to control it. So because they're going to get a lot of money from corporations, and a lot of time the same owner owns the corporation as well as the media. So they were probably in bed with the pharmaceutical companies as well, and those monopolistic corporations. And I think which companies? Quick question to you: which companies benefited the most? Like, give me any, like, I don't care with, if you tell their name. Which companies benefit the most?
Amazon definitely benefited.
Okay.
Uh, the pharmaceuticals definitely they benefited. Um, Anything along the lines of services, again, the banks
Let's
benefited.
simplify a bit. I think if we simplify it and say like banks, like let's put them on one side. They're fucking evil bastards anyway, so they'll
Yeah,
always benefit from everything. Put them to one side. So people who benefited are other companies or industries. Let's put it this way: are the online industries
yes,
and entertainment industries, which are
yes,
online. So
Netflix
your
and so on. Yeah,
Netflixes, your Disney Pluses, your Skies, your Amazon Primes,
yeah.
they all got filtration. They're increasing their
Delivery
prices as
companies,
well, if you notice,
all the
because
delivery companies made
so
shitloads of money as well.
yes, Amazon, ASOS, you know, all the grocery like the Deliveroos and your
Mhm.
Uber Eats and all of those, they got filthy rich as well. I think just from Uber Eats, even no, not even an Uber, just Uber Eats made more
Yeah,
money
yeah, made more money. Yeah.
during this pandemic time than Uber was making from taxis outside of before the lockdown. I think Uber Eats made
Yep.
more money,
Hmm.
and so they have single-handedly destroyed local businesses,
Hmm.
your local
Yeah.
shops,
Yeah.
your local libraries, your local barbers. If you walk outside, like three out of five, no, one out of three shops is closed and
Yeah.
bankrupt, gone.
This is what's horrible. Yeah. Yeah.
So the more people are going and buying things online now, and they've realized that it's easier to do it online. So they have earned a lot of money, and they will carry on earning a lot of money because they've converted a lot of people from going to the local shop and buying there from that to buying it online, because now they've tried it, they like it now, right? They don't care
Hmm.
about the impact of
Hmm.
it. They just like it now. It's easier because we're all fucking lazy bastards. We just want to sit at home, eat our pizza, on the same desk, on the same chair, do our work and eat and live and die on the same chair. That's the way we are. Most of us are, and a lot of companies benefited from that.
Yeah.
So all three together, I think, that's the logical explanation why we had a lockdown, not because of the virus killing people. Since when
No.
politicians
No.
care about
Yeah.
people
Of
dying?
course. So many factors come into play, so many questions. At the same time, there was a bubble starting to burst financially in terms of where the economy was going. Don't forget, at the moment, Bitcoin's coming up, so the gold standards is dropping. All of these different factors have been taken. Like, I was looking into them, I was asking specific people in specific industries about these kind of things, and just discussing the way the market is at the moment, how it's operating. Look, th- everything is connected in some way, shape, or form, right? And when
Mm,
you start going into these games where we're talking about the politics and the money and so on, and people people's livelihoods, this is when it becomes a problem. It's people's livelihoods, bro. We're talking about small businesses that rely on the small man to go in and buy from there. Like, at the moment, I'll be honest with you, like, there's so many times that I want to go and buy some stuff from supermarkets, but I'm refraining from going there. I'm actually going to the local shop, to be honest with you.
mm,
One, it's more convenient because they're close.
yeah.
Hence why it's called a convenience store. And second of all, he stocks what I want. Yes, sometimes I pay a little bit more money for it, but I know what, like, and I've got a personal relationship with the guy that I see on a daily basis. Hello, hi, how you doing?
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
all right.
exactly, yeah.
How's life treating you? If you're having a down day, they might do something that make you feel better. These are the things that we're kind of missing out on. And it's an isolated society in a lot of aspects. Just because of that lockdown, we all got isolated in many ways. And at the same time, we're already isolated people regardless. Even when we go outside, how many of us are actually sitting down talking in the park and having a decent conversation, like me and you and some of the guys we chill with?
Yeah.
Most people are out there just so they could take a couple of pictures and show the world what they've been doing. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
it's the problem is, we have the information today to actually do something about the way the systems are managed, but we're just still choosing to ignore the whole process and just keep going. Yeah, the fucking politicians are a piece of shit.
Well,
Yeah, the
yeah.
corporations are a piece of shit. And we just want to talk about all the good things that we want, because that's how it is. We just want life to be better when we don't want to do anything about making life be better. So again, that's what I'm saying. Again, the virus is there, it exists, it happens. No one's in denial of that. But it was also used as a tool for manipulation in many ways. That's what I believe.
Yeah, and it proved the governments is that they can get away with if
Yep.
all of them say one thing together, the whole world will believe them and they'll just go with it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm
And we
100% with you on
we did. You know, there
that.
was an experiment. This guy, I can't remember the name of the guy. Anyway, he goes. I think it was in New York. He went out to the street, one of those busy crossroads, and he just looked at one of those tall buildings and just kept staring at the top of it, or like the mid. Like he just picked a random spot in that building on top, and just kept staring at it. He was well dressed, like suit and tie, and he stood there watching the window, and then some person crossing the road, and they looked at him and was like, "What's he looking at?" Let me try and find what he's looking at as well. Like he's just looking. Before you know it, there's like 15 people looking at the exact same spot, and then that 15 people became so big that police had to come and say what the hell's going on? Is there a riot or whatever? There were about 250 people. Everyone who just randomly were crossing the road. They stopped. Everyone's looking that way. Something's happening, right?
And nothing's happening.
Well, nothing is happening, but in their mind something is happening. So they would see things even though it's not there. And it's people are like sheep. They just follow the first one who's doing something. That's it. You know, like if you're underground and suddenly you start smelling smoke and people are running in one way, and you can see the fire is there, but people are running towards that fire. A lot of people will join the rest of the people and run towards fire.
Yeah. If someone goes, oh no, this is the right way to go because there's a shortcut somewhere. People will
exactly.
go towards it.
Yeah, and then they'll die. So unfortunately, that is the truth, and this again showed this was an example that this works, and I'm still optimistic about the future. I think people like you, me, and hopefully people who are watching this, they would realize that not everything that you see is real, not everything that you hear is real, and or fake to that matter. So you need to go and do your own research and make sure that you you do what is right for you. You don't do something that you think is going to be right because somebody else is saying that that's right. You do
just
something
for the sake of it. Yeah.
The government's telling me that that's right. I don't give a shit. The government shouldn't even get involved with something that's right or wrong. They should be only involved with the law. That's their full scope of things. They shouldn't tell me what's morally right for me to do or not. Stay away from that. The same way as religion shouldn't involve in the government. Stay away from that. Government shouldn't get involved in morality. Full stop. The same way any other person shouldn't be involved in morality with another person. Look, if the guy wants to do that, fucking let him do it. As long as he's doing that within law, who cares, right?
Yeah, exactly. As long as there's not some serious red lines being crossed, then what the hell, man?
Yeah, and I think overall, if everyone let everyone to live their life, like I was saying a few episodes back, like there's a good saying, live and let live. Just that. So do your own research, do what you think is right, and don't give a shit about anything else or anyone else. That's it. Care about the people who are close to you, and your friends, your family, and the strangers if they need help. Do show kindness, but other than that, if somebody is telling you, "Oh, that's not right, you shouldn't be doing this," tell them to fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. Or at least try to understand. If somebody is calling you out for something, try to understand why they're calling you out. Like, okay, you have a problem with me. Cool, let's have a discussion about it. We spoke about this before. A lot of the times people just tend to want to base an opinion on you without even having a discussion with you.
Well, it depends on how they approach you, right? So if they come and start yelling at you, like, "Wear your fucking mask," why the fuck are you not wearing a mask? And start, in that manner, I'm like, well, fuck off. I don't give a shit. I wear my mask, by the way.
Yeah.
And not because I think that, and not because I think I'm protecting myself. Because a lot of people they still don't understand how it works. You wear your mask not to protect yourself. You wear the mask to protect others. Because you'll still inhale it. Goes through.
Exactly.
You're
That's
not
what people don't. Yeah, they don't get
you're
it.
not letting your spit when you're breathing out of the mask. That's the idea behind this. It's not like, oh, I'm wearing a mask, I'm safe. No, you're fucking still, you know, exactly the same way as you were before, without wearing it. Anyway, so people, in the manner, the way that people are, they approach you and they start, they try to lecture you about something. I think that's the wrong way of doing it. Don't try and go lecture somebody about something, or don't allow somebody to lecture you about something. Have a discussion, like Hey is saying. Talk to them, like, oh, like if I want to say something, hey, by the way, I saw you, you know, this is what's happening, and I learned that a lot from back in the day when I was doing my street photography, because a lot of people I against somebody coming to your face and taking a picture. So you would just say, hey, why do you think that's correct? You know, can you explain to me, because I have no idea, even though I know. I was like, well, I have no idea that this was the case. Can you tell me about this? You approach things like that, and then he will open up. He will start talking. Like, oh, that's very interesting. But how about this? You just ask him questions, ask her questions. But why do you think that is? So you don't want to wear your mask, okay? But if you had a virus which you don't know, and you're not wearing the mask, you might be spreading it to the person who's next to you, but he's wearing a mask.
But bro, everyone's an expert now, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So just ask questions, like, and then they will start thinking, like, and then hopefully they'll go and do their own research, or you might realize something they didn't know about. But it's the way that you discuss things. You don't just run to somebody or like walk up to somebody, start shouting at them because you're far left or far right or whatever your ideology is. Be polite to people and respect their wishes. They're not breaking the law. Respect their wishes. And unfortunately, at the moment, government is actually getting they're intervening with morality, and I think that's bad. And that will see a rise in fundamentalists in both sides, and I think that's bad. So,
oh my god, are you crazy? That's already happening. There's this new mix of, I don't know, like EDL and what was the name before? They're like a new mix, a hybrid between UKIP and EDL and some other, what's it called? I think it's called Britain's Finest or something.
Britain
like
First,
that.
Britain First or something like that.
Britain First, yeah, that's the one. These guys, they're just an absolute, like.
Well, I'm not surprised, because the left is going as far as them, maybe even further than them. I'm not surprised. They're both radically incorrect.
Bro, these people were literally, like, I was watching it the other day. They're literally saying that people need to be hanged. You know, we need to hang people on the streets for whatever it is, even if they're just being this particular race or this particular type. Britain comes first, Christian comes first. And it's like, the last time movements like this started taking place, a world war happened. You know,
yeah.
The last time.
And do you know why? And do you know why Nazis? And do you know why Nazis came about? Main reason is because left was going too far as well.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. There's never a balance. It's never a balance.
Well, there is balance, like in Scandinavia, like in.
We're talking about yeah.
And they are still they're still trying some things. There's some pockets of them are going a bit more feminist, and then some pockets are going slightly now radical now.
You see what I'm saying?
Mainly, yeah, that's always the case. When one of them go up, then the other one needs to catch up, and most of the time they just go even further. So, but it's the job of the politicians to regulate that. Right, and to regulate the politicians is our job, but we're fucking brainwashed every day. We don't know what's true anymore. So it's a evil circle that never ends.
A vicious circle. Yeah,
a vicious circle. Yeah.
I'm with you on this. I'm with you on this 100%. That's why, like you said, it's up to people. Bro, the information is out there. People just need to start going out there and really just finding out what real is and what isn't real. And like you said, the answer that you normally come to in terms of the conclusion of what is the correct answer is mostly the logical answer.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, it's not difficult to make up your mind about what's logical and what's not logical. You can just have A and B. You read A, you read B, you go through them, you come to a conclusion, and you go, okay, well, this is the result. This is the result that makes the most sense as to why something like this could have happened. If you want to go down to the extent of breaking things down, then
even then, you're not necessarily correct or incorrect.
Exactly.
At least you've done your research, you've done some kind of conclusion to yourself, and that's, say, more than any other person would have done. And don't be a sheep. Just don't follow everyone else. Don't just go Black Lives Matter march because everyone else is doing that. Understand why they're doing that, because A lot of times there are other things that are involved. Like the two things, there's a corporation, Black Lives Matter, and there is a movement. So there's a big distinction between these two. With Me Too, there's a movement, and then there are some, celebrities in Hollywood,
extremists and stuff. Yeah.
Since when Hollywood is fucking spokespeople about
Human rights.
Human rights and what do you call it when different people mix? Anyway, you get the point. Like they're the least people that you would expect to do this, and they shouldn't be. And just at least you've done your research. You're not the sheep that just follows everyone else, and make sure that you don't go onto these.
It's the trend. It's the trend, right? It's the trend. Everybody's following the trend. Eventually, what's going to happen is they'll follow the trend. They'll get to a point where the trend becomes boring, and then they drop the trend like a bad habit. Like I said, now everybody thinks they're, when I said everybody is an expert, now everybody's an interior designer. Now everyone's a chef. Now everyone can cut hair, bro.
Yeah, and yeah.
Now everyone's an entrepreneur.
Yeah, but not everyone can pour salt, like in a weird way.
Exactly. Like now everybody is also like. So now everyone can also, they're philanthropists. So everybody, and then all of a sudden, once that trend is dead, before you know it, everyone's looking for a new trend. Everyone's looking for something else to fill the gap. And that's all it is.
You know what it is? It's just become easy. It's just become easy. And back in the day, these things existed back in the day, but they died out quickly because there was no momentum. Some guy came out and said, he was touched by Jesus, and then he saw him in his dream, and he's a healer, and a few people would follow him, and then he would die out. Some of them were more successful, and then they actually took a few hundred people with them to their graves. But usually these things die out, and you don't hear that millions of people are following something, apart from the big guys, the religions. But usually these things die out because there's no momentum. Not many people hear about this, and there's no many people who would just follow them as sheep. But now it's become so easy. You just put something up, and then if you have a couple of million followers and they reshare it, and that's it. You can just say whatever you want. It's going to be viral.
It's crazy. That's what I mean. It's crazy. You just got to do something bonkers, and the whole world takes it as exactly what it is. It's become. Look, there's something that happened in the news this week. If we're going to touch base, we might as well touch base on this now. We spoke about it in Let's Get Talking 5. We accidentally mentioned it, and it ended up happening about the death of Prince Philip.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so this is why today's
I am the Messiah, the all-seer and eternal.
Yeah. So we ended up talking in this podcast about what happened with if Dowsar wants to become the King of England, what he'd have to do. And a week later, Prince Philip has passed away.
I think it was a week later. We did it on Friday. It was like 2 days after, I think, right? So when was it announced? On Monday or Tuesday? Something like that.
Something like this.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. So when we were discussing this, we were talking about this recently. And the thing is, I want to say something on this that I want to get off my chest. First of all, may he rest in peace. Anybody that experiences death, or any family that goes through a death, you have to give your condolences, and we leave it there at the end of it. But what gets on my nerves the most is these situations where so many times he's caused so many controversies throughout his lifetime, and these controversies in another world, or if he was a normal man included in society, these controversies that he caused would have caused an uproar if he was a normal individual. There's things that he said that have come off his tongue that have been racist. There's things that has been said that have been sexist and feminist. There's things that he said to people that were even like, that's why I said don't make sure Prince Philip, don't tell him you want to be an astronaut, because the things that he used to say were just ridiculous, right? Why is it that we've become a society that, for example, Jimmy Savile, right? So
well, that's a special story. That's
a special story, but I just want to touch base on that very quickly. Yeah. Someone like Jimmy Savile, who the whole world knew, well, not the whole world, the people that experienced it,
people who could stop it knew. Yeah.
And the people that could stop it knew, and yet they never stopped it. And even in this kind of situation where they tell you there's no racism in the royal family, and clearly, there's been a member of that royal family who's been racist on several occasions, why is it that we don't do nothing? Nobody calls these things out until the person's passed away. And then when they pass away, then we first honor them, and then we start digging into their past.
Yeah.
There's no honor in that. You can't honor a deaf man by digging into his past and then calling him a criminal after he's died away. Bro, he's dead now. There's nothing you can do. He's a criminal when he was alive. Why did you do nothing about it?
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah, go on.
So my point is that, we like we said, all of a sudden he's passed away now. When he was alive, the media was always trying to find some news about him. Now that he's passed away, everybody's rest in peace, Prince Philip. People that don't even want him existing have all of a sudden become rest in peace. I understand all of this kind of stuff, but let's be serious. Who actually gave a fuck about him?
Yeah, I mean, I did.
You know what I mean?
I did slightly, not
You
too
did?
much, but
In what way? What would you feel towards?
I didn't feel anything, but I thought, okay, let me put it this way.
Go on.
So I think we spoke about it a little bit last time. He's not your typical royal, and we have to put things in perspective and the timeline of when these things are happening. We can't judge people on today's day and age when when their mentality was formed about 100 years ago. And
Okay.
100 years ago, that if you would take him and him like okay, let me put it this way. 2 years ago, if you would take Prince Philip and take travel through time and put him back in when he was like 15 or 16 or let's say 18. Put him to that era, right? To that in that time, and he would be considered as one of the most progressive people. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
He would be
Okay,
considered
fair
one of
enough.
the
Yeah,
one of the most tolerant and progressive, and very very more towards left. So because people change over time, but also we need to remember that a lot of things that they grew up with, seeing things, they were forced to be in predominantly white area, and they were ignorant. Most of them, some of them are racist, but some of them are just ignorant. They didn't know. They would just say things. They didn't know how it felt. The same way as any other people, like in Central Asia or in Middle East, they would know how a white person would do something, and they would have their own prejudice against that. But that's because they're ignorant, not necessarily they're racist towards white people. Do you see what I mean? So
yeah. No, I understand
you need
that,
to
but don't
take
forget, it's the royal we're talking about here.
yeah. So
Family
that's
that
what
has representatives who have got advisors.
yeah. No, I'm getting that. No, advisors are even that's similar to them. So they they're protecting the institution that's 1,000 years old. Almost.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
and they're protecting it not to change. So what do you expect from them to do? So my point is, he's one of those people who was prosecuted, who had nothing, who left his country, his royal everything he had. He just left that. He fled when he was a child to UK, and he was considered as a nobody in the royal family. He's one of those people. And his sister died with all the children, on an airplane. He suffered so much, trauma, and also remember a lot of his family members were Nazis as well in Germany because they married the Germans, and some of them were in the German National Socialist Party, so they were Nazis. And he knew that was wrong, and you could actually see in pictures when he was going to the funeral of his sister, like he didn't like being there, that he didn't share the same vision, same ideas, and he actually said it himself. But we have to take everything within context of how he grew up.
Mm-hmm.
My dad says things like my granddad used to say things. Like if you would take the sentence and let him walk around in UK and said it in English, you would think that he's racist.
Of course.
Because they grew up in that time, and that was considered as norm. And you always have to put things in that kind of perspective. And to me, he was one of those most relatable of the royals. slightly relatable. I could relate to him in a way.
That's very bizarre because I find that he's one of the royals that is the furthest away from me.
Well, I'm trying to explain. Yeah, so the reason why I think he's relatable is because he knows dirt. He was dirt, and from dirt he then worked his own way up, right? So he knows how it is to have nothing, and how it is to have everything. He knows how it is to have freedom and then to lose freedom. So that's the thing. What I'm saying is that he's relatable, not as his personality, but you know that he knows how to have nothing as well. So in that way, and I think he was one of the least racist in my opinion. He's one of the least racist in the royal family. The rest of them all, one of that generation, of that generation,
maybe differing opinions.
I guess, yeah. But again, I'm not English, so
yeah, no, I mean, I'm not either. I'm a British citizen, but I'm not actually English. I can't call myself an Englishman. But I'm just again, I can't tell you how the Englishman perceives it. It's completely different. Maybe I'm saying it from an ethnic point of view. But when I'm actually just trying to say it from a humanitarian point of view, that look, every human in this world has gone through some crap in their life, bro. Every human in this world has gone through a level of trauma.
Not every.
We're all going to experience some level of pain.
Yeah.
Everyone is going to experience some level of pain. Everyone's going to experience death. Everyone's going to experience losing someone. This is common in life, you know. And some people are prepared better than others to cope with it, and some people aren't prepared at all. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And in the case of when it comes to the hierarchy, or if you want to call it the royal family or the royals or the politicians or all of that, bro, I put them all in the same pot, regardless of what it is. And they're all in bed with each other. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah.
I understand there will be some individuals that are good people and they've done some good things in their life too. But as far as I'm concerned, all of these people are in positions in their life where they can make not just a little change, they can make a change to the world that is so significant. It can have an impact on the rest of humanity, and yet they are still hiding behind the curtains. That's my issue. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, as an individual, you could be doing what you're doing. That's perfectly fine. As individuals, we're all decent people. Do you get what I'm saying? In some cases, but when it really counts is when you become in a position where you have an impact, you can do something about some serious shit about what you can change, and you're just sitting there behind a seat, you're sitting there on a seat behind a closed door, protected by the taxpayers' money. You get what I'm saying? So these are the things that kind of come into my mind when I think about, you know, legacies. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, people that have had nothing have made a bigger difference in the world than people that have had everything and all the resources in order for them to make a difference and make a change. So, you know, like I said, I'll always respect death, because death is another portal to life, and
they can't defend themselves. So you can't bash somebody who can't defend themselves. So
exactly, that's not what I'm trying to raise. What I'm trying to raise is, why are we as a society, we always, you know, we criticize, then we honor in death, then we dig into the past, and then we absolutely tarnish the past. And it's like, why don't you just deal with it when the person's alive and call them out when they're actually alive? Do you get what I'm saying? Because I suppose it becomes another dramatic story to sell.
We are lazy dirt-digging lizards, that's why.
That's the one. Bro, don't forget to do the randomizer today, so we know what we're going to be
Yeah, we'll do that. But overall, I think, you know, the whole royal family should abdicate anyway, and I don't think there's a place for any royal families in the world.
Amen to that.
They should be, they can have their Windsor Castle and stay there as a museum.
They can have whatever they like.
If you're there just for the sake of tourism and you're bringing money because of tourism, just fucking be a museum. Just, you know, stay there like one of those people on the street who are pretending to be you know, live statues, you know, one of those markets. Be one of those. Queen, sit on your throne, and people will come and look at you and drop some coin and then walk away. Do that. That's it.
That's it, right? You still make loads of money.
If that's what you're doing, then, you know, I don't want to pay for your fucking trips throughout the world. That you think, oh my god, I'm going through a tour for the whole world again. Oh, it's so terrible. Oh, we hate that. Like, no, fucking, you don't hate that. Well, if you hate it, then you shouldn't be royal, because that's the only job you have. And I'm sorry, but that's one of the best jobs that you can have, paid by the taxpayers.
It's the best job you can have. It's the best job you can have. You sit on your ass and you get paid shitloads of money to do everything you could possibly want to do.
Yeah,
Like,
and
and you never even have to say, I need a job.
yeah, true, but there's a caveat as well. So the younger generation, they who are born into it, they're stuck in prison basically, as Harry said, and they can't escape from it. And those pricks, the old pricks there who are defending this institution, is, I don't think they should even exist these days. If they need to be reformed, they should reform. And honestly, they shouldn't exist as a royal
No,
family.
I agree with you. I agree
Yeah,
with you. As a novelty, I get
yeah.
it. But as a physical aspect where, taxpayers' money are absolutely blasting through their bank accounts, no, 100% not. Man, it's the people that make a country.
Mm,
Like, do you understand what I'm
yeah.
saying? It's the people that make a nation. It's not an individual that makes the nation. I mean, look, I don't want to go to say that in that way, but don't forget, in certain situations, in certain countries, and in certain past, kings have lost their heads, bro. You know,
Well, yeah, Prince Philip. I mean, Prince Philip's whole, like, his family was executed.
exactly. So there you
Um,
go. That's my point. So, people's heads used to roll back in the day for being a king, and that's because the people reach a point where they've had enough. So if you're already in a position where you're gracefully been born into a family that gives you that kind of legitimacy and that kind of power, why are you not doing something to help the fucking nation back?
well, they said they are doing that by being there.
Oh, come on, please. We both know that's
they,
absolute garbage. Like,
they say
seriously.
they have charities and this and that. I mean, people who are actually doing
Yeah, charities that are
some.
filtering straight back into their bank account.
Yeah, there was only one person in the royal family who was actually doing something different, and that was Diana. And you guys killed her off. So maybe not directly, but you were one of the causes why she died. So
Yeah, of course, of course.
when I
But
say you, I
it
mean
goes without
the
saying.
royal family. So they didn't protect, and the same thing was probably going through Harry's mind as well, that it's going to happen to his wife and his
Of
children.
course, why wouldn't I
So
be surprised? Why
yeah,
wouldn't be surprised? I'll
yeah.
be worried, man. That's a trauma.
Yeah, exactly. So remember, sometimes if it could be a golden cage, but it's still a cage. So um,
Yes, that's a very
some of
good
them
one.
they might
I like that one.
they might still feel like they're in a prison. So even though they have everything, and the reason why I kind of taken a not liking, I relate to Prince Philip more than others, is because he's like similar to the rest of them. Like he came from nothing, and as I was saying, he worked his way up. So he might have said a few things here and there, and he at least
I think maybe he
was
just forgot,
honest.
bro. I think maybe he just
Maybe he
forgot that
forgot. Maybe he
where he
didn't give
came
a
from, man.
shit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe true. But I think the reason why he was saying things and why people criticize him is because we have a saying is that tongue is boneless. So he didn't give a shit. So he would just say whatever he wanted.
Yeah, probably that too,
Compared
yeah.
to the rest of the royal families, probably they in their head they're thinking worse things than him. But they just know how to hide it, and they don't say things.
Well, that's the thing.
So
I'd rather at least he's saying what he's thinking
yeah,
than not knowing what he's
that's
saying
why I think
or thinking. So I respect that at least.
I like him more than the other ones, is because what goes on behind those you don't know. At least he was at least saying shit that he thought. So if that's what he was thinking, I I think I can take that. If that was the extent of his racism, then I would take that. Any day. Compared to the rest of them. So. Because we don't know, you don't know. I mean, their own family members are saying that they were discussing the color of their grandchild. I mean, or their nephew or something. I don't know, whoever it was, but apparently they were discussing that, and they confirmed it. So, I mean, why do you care what color they're going to be? Like, they're not even in line in throne. Like, the queen is still there. Her son is not gonna get it now. So, like, it's a long time away. Like, stop doing that.
Yeah, 100%. No, I'm definitely with you on that, man. But again, like I said, we gotta pay respect to the dead, and that's where it is.
Yeah.
And we say rest in peace, Prince Philip. This is a new era for the UK, definitely.
Yeah. Anyway,
the Queen's around the corner at some point.
Anyway,
let's not hope in 2 weeks. Let's not hope that.
Are you gonna get a vaccine then?
Am I gonna get one?
Yeah.
I haven't decided yet, to be honest, bro. I'm still sitting on the fence. I actually haven't decided yet.
Okay.
I'm still to make my mind up about it. Hopefully, if I just keep eating half decent and live half decent, maybe I might not need to ever take it. So that's how I'm gonna kind of base it on whatever it is that I need to do.
I think I'm gonna wait and see a little bit. I
Yeah,
think
man.
my threshold's about wait. Let's see another, maybe if I can, if they don't introduce these freaking passports, maybe wait another 5 years, and see if there are any side effects and stuff like that, and hopefully by that time they'll tweak it and formula and make it more stable. And if by then it goes away, then even better. But if it doesn't go away, then if I have to take it, then I'm gonna have to take it. So yeah,
That's
so
what
let's
just
see.
wait it out, man. It's just, bro, you're still in a good age. You're still you got two kids now, like well, you're about to anyway, I
About to,
think.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's gonna be you're gonna have you're gonna have a lot of life to be living, bro. So
Yeah.
you're gonna
So
have to
I
be on
don't
your
want to.
toes,
I don't
which
want
is
to make
good.
it shorter. So that's the thing, and but yeah, let's see how it goes. So in terms of vaccine, and again, which one are you going to take? So
Exactly. I'm spoiled for choice now, so
yeah,
I'm just gonna have to
yeah.
wait it out. I'll definitely wait it out and see what's gonna happen.
Oh, what do you think about them making a lot of money? So you said that they became filthy rich, but technically they shouldn't really be benefiting from those. You know that, like they shouldn't really be making profits from those.
Absolute garbage.
Yeah.
That's all I've got to say
Which
about
world do you
that,
live in? Like companies,
Yeah.
private companies, pharmaceutical companies are becoming charitable all of a sudden? Oh my god,
Yeah.
you're dreaming, bro.
Yeah. No, hell no, man. They were definitely, bro. Just check their stock, check their price on the stock
Yeah,
exchange
exactly,
from when
man.
the virus, before the vaccine came out and after the vaccine came out. See what they were looking like.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what are you gonna do? That's the way it works, and
That's the way the cookie crumbles.
hopefully they're honest a little bit, and the vaccine does, at least like half of what they say. Hopefully it does. And
Yeah,
you
fingers
never know,
crossed,
it could be a fucking placebo, and how do you know?
It
Because they
could
never
be just
say something.
injected water into your arm.
Yeah, I mean, like, we don't know. Like, they could be just giving you a placebo and saying, okay, now you're in. There could be one way of controlling the population and making them think that they're safer now.
You heard it on this podcast first. It's a placebo.
Well, we don't know. It is. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't.
If they ever come out and say it was a placebo, it was said here first.
Well, they wouldn't, because if they do that, then that's the one way of making people that think that they're safe now, and it could be true, could be not.
Yeah.
The worst things that the governments have done, like spying on, like total spying on everyone, which they said until now, like, oh, you guys, one of those tin hat wearing people thinking that the government is spying on you, like, you guys are crazy. Like one of those people who had a speech impediment and possessed by a devil, or one of those people who are writing with the left hand. You tin wearing it, like, oh, by the way, we're spying on everyone.
Yeah.
So
yeah, oh my god, so much of that, bro. It's more to come. We'll be alive when it happens as well. We've still got some crazy stuff to see yet, man. This is nothing. Just wait.
Yeah. So you don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow.
Exactly.
And hopefully we'll be alright. So let's do this thing that you sent me.
Randomizer. Yeah, let's do it. Let's show the people what we're gonna be talking about. So basically, what we're gonna be doing is every end of episode, we're going to run a randomizer that's going to select the topic for us to speak about on the following podcast. So we're going to generate.
We have a forensic psychology.
Oh my goodness.
So I think the most efficient way of doing this is going to be to try a few, like, let's say 5, and then me and Kay will decide which one we're going to have. So first one is forensic psychology. Actually, let me change this to oh, actually, let's do it this way. Let's build up some suspense, right? Artificial intelligence. That's a good one. I like that. So we can talk about AI. Multicultural.
So far, that's the leader. Yeah.
Yeah. And physics fraction, forget about that. And pediatrics. So I think the science will be the least. So the first one and the one before this are going to be the last one. So pediatrics probably not. So it's going to be between.
So it's out of multicultural and artificial intelligence.
Yes.
All right. Do you want to flip a coin, or should we just say one out at the same time, or you
Yeah.
say one and then I say one?
Let's say it together. So 3,
Okay, on
2,
2,
1.
1.
Go. AI.
AI.
Yeah. You're leaning for that as well. So let's do AI then.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
do
we'll
AI.
talk about AI. That's gonna be a good one next week. Wicked. All right, awesome. We've got our topic for 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to be interesting one,
I suppose-
because we did touch
yeah.
upon this a while back when Elon Musk and Jack Ma was talking about this, right?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah.
That's a good
Actually,
first start on that
I
generator.
have a few ideas about that. Cool.
Wicked,
Oh,
wicked,
as a
wicked.
teaser, guys, and for you too, okay, go and watch, like, because I was watching Elon Musk before we came on the podcast. Just type in on Google. Let me do this thing.
What am I typing?
No, I'm doing it. Don't worry.
Oh, you're doing it. All right.
After the ad, hopefully. I don't know if you can hear it though. You can probably hear it on the podcast itself.
But
who had a Neuralink placed in each side of his brain about 6 weeks ago.
So this monkey had a neural link. Let me just turn off. I can do the voiceover. So the monkey had a neural link, a chip, basically installed, and Elon Musk he's supporting this one. So he's the. Did you tell me about this? You told me about this, didn't you?
yeah, we spoke about this before.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So anyway, or maybe someone else. So what he did is he supports them. So he's one of the patrons. So he invests in this company. So Neuralink is a chip that what they did is they added to they installed it on the brain of the monkey.
Yeah,
So what they're doing is on that long tube, there's a smoothie coming out, the banana smoothie or something like that, and the monkey is controlling the mouse with a joystick. So where the orange is going, the mouse is going. If it goes, he gets some treat, right? So some food. So what they're going to do is they're going to unplug the joystick. So basically, what's happening is Neuralink. They are like a Bluetooth with a Bluetooth. They're connecting the phone to the monkey's brain, and it's scanning the signals that are coming in from the brain. And look, like this is the signal that's coming from the brain, and it's recording in the PC. So they're connected to it like a Bluetooth. And what it's gonna do is basically read that in simple terms and decode what the monkey is doing versus on the screen, and
That's
trying
insane.
to replicate that with the joystick unplugged, so you can actually see the flipping thing is unplugged, right?
That's incredible.
So in a minute they're gonna remove this whole thing and it's gonna play a video game, and that's even crazier. So
Wow.
so right now the monkey is moving the mouse with his brain power, not the joystick. He thinks he's moving it with a joystick, but
yeah.
the computer is moving it with his brain power, right?
Yeah.
So now they're going to take away the joystick entirely.
Ronzo in chat says, can we expand the video?
Expand the video. We
Yeah.
can try. Is that okay? Yeah. So the monkey, this thing is unplugged. So the monkey is controlling the mouse, as I was saying, and now what's going to happen is one second, too silent for my liking. So they have taken the joystick away and he's playing the Pong with his brain.
That's incredible.
And it's on a slow setting, so he's basically warming up right now. And remember, there is no direct input to that fucking computer. The only input is his brain, the monkey's brain. so what they're going to do now, like they're putting it on an extreme level now. Look how fast it's going.
That's insane.
Look at that. The monkey is controlling the right hand side, the one that's on the right, with his fucking mind. Imagine
That's
how useful this is going to
incredible.
be for people who are disabled, who don't have hands to control
That is
computer.
gonna be incredible. I love this already.
They could just type the essays like with just power of their thought. Like people could drive their cars and control their smart home with the fucking brain power. You just walk into a house and like think about the light turning on, it's gonna turn on. Fucking amazing, right?
I know. I can't. This is the kind of stuff that we're gonna be talking about, though, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I mean.
Man, this is going to be amazing. I like this kind of weird technology.
I can't wait. I can't wait. This is gonna be our topic now, so we know what we're gonna bring into the game next week, or
Yeah.
no, in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think we got a chat coming as well.
Yeah, Ranzo, yeah, I'm good, mate. Pretty much, I think we are. Well, you guys are joining
We're about to
late,
wrap up, I
guys.
think.
Come
Yeah,
on,
we're about to wrap up.
you guys are joining
now.
late. Well, you can re-watch it from the beginning, but you know we needed you at the beginning. Come on. No, thanks, guys. Thanks for joining.
No, thanks for joining.
always-
Whoever was watching today.
Always appreciate it. We had a kind of a wave of people coming and going. So we had at the beginning 5 people, 6 people, then went back to 3, and then again 5, and then now it's 5 again. So, yeah, we had a good discussion. Next one, if you've missed it, if you've just joined, we're going to be talking about AI, which we randomly generated, not so randomly, generated from a randomly generating the website. So it gave us a few options, so we chose the AI. So so this was a teaser. So this is something that we're going to be talking about in that episode. So not next week, the following week, Friday. Don't miss it. And if you click on that bell, you will know when I'm going live on Twitch. And if you are watching this on YouTube, again, please, click the subscribe thingy and click on the bell thingy so that you know when the next video is going up. And as usual, thank you very much, guys, and we always appreciate your viewership and your support. And I'll leave it to Kay to wrap up.
Nice one. So I always say thank you very much as well, guys, for joining today. Join us in 2 weeks. We're gonna be ready with a great topic. I've been Kay, he's been Dowser. I say boom, and have a great weekend. Take care for now. Peace and love to all.